All right, I'll briefly tell you a little bit about the game that we've designed, and then I would love to actually share with you the link to the game, and then also any questions that we may have. I've got Lockie Roach as well available for questions. He was the designer behind all the visual side of things. So what we did is we worked with ACR, the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research. And they wanted to have a presence at COP26. I assume everybody knows the large climate change conference that was on recently. So there was two key questions that we were looking to solve. The first is, how do we engage people meaningfully in the topic of climate change, and in particular transformation? And the second, more practical one is, how do we do this at an event where you've got a lot of academics, or you've got policymakers, and a lot of very traditional events, and how can we do something different to stand out from the crowd? So this project, and particularly for the game, was myself, Sneha Vaidya, and Lockie Roach from the Melbourne team. So in essence, our audience was senior researchers, policymakers, and funding organisations. And the key was, transformation is too abstract. Let's change that. So I'll tell you a little bit about the results, and then I'll talk you through the game and the design process, and would love to also just have a discussion about that. So we had over 185 registered participants from all over the world. In the post-event survey, people agreed that the game communicated really well what transformation was. Over 81% said the game encouraged them to think differently, and thought that was engaging. And there's some really great quotes from people here about the fact that the session did a really great job at peeling back the onion of what transformation is and what it looks like. There were deeper concepts emerging in the game as you played. Someone even says, "I've never played such an engaging game. It was really good and informative." So that's all well and good, but as we all know, as designers, design is a process. So it definitely didn't start that way. So what we in the team did is we researched a lot of academic papers. We spoke to scientists to really try to understand what are some of the key concepts we're trying to get across for the game. And the other thing about the game is that we played it all in Miro. And the reason for this is because we had people attending live in Glasgow, as well as people from all over the world. So we really wanted to make sure that everybody had a sort of equal access to the platform, and we still wanted to make it fun and kind of replicate that board game style element that you have when you're moving cards or things like that. So I'll just quickly show you through a couple of the designs and process, and then we'll share the Miro link for you as well, so you can see the actual game. So you can see very early, sketches here, and working with different game mechanics. Early on, it was kind of complex. We had sort of different aspects of the game. We had tokens and things. And through lots of playtesting that we did, we refined it and refined it. So I just wanted to, I guess, share with you some of the design process in action, and sort of different layouts for the game, and lots of really great playtesting. But now I'd love to share with you the actual Miro link, and maybe Lockie, could you help me out and maybe post that in the chat?
Yes, sure thing.
Thank you. So we've actually got the live Miro link, so you're very welcome to hop in during the session, have a play with the game as well. And if not, I'm hopefully showing my screen correctly and can kind of talk you through it. So yeah, I mean, look, the best way to experience the game is actually just to play it. So if you are interested, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to play. So if that's the case, definitely reach out to me and Lockie, and we can arrange for that. But I just wanted to kind of give you a sense for the game itself. Now there's instructions, but there's also cards. So feel free in this session, you can simply pick up cards and move them, so you can get a sense for the replicability. And as you do that, I'll just spend another probably 2 or 3 minutes talking through some of the key aspects, and then I'll open it up for Lockie to share some of his thoughts as well. And so essentially the way that the game starts is that you pick an objective. It's played as a team, so you can choose from 3 and then move it over into the card spot. And then the game is played in rounds, what we call harvest cycles. And in each harvest cycle, you can choose to play 3 cards, which you can choose from projects over here, and actors over here as well. And so essentially, as a group, you might say, okay, you know, based on the objective we have, we're going to drag over this this project card over here, and we might then move on to a card 2, or level 2 of the game, and then also move over actors. And so through this way, people have a discussion around the types of things that they would like to build within their system. And then there's a score, so people score up. You can see as you move cards, you've got some points here. And then what happens is that you actually reveal an event that might affect you. So if someone who's in the board, if you want to move one of the event cards for me, that would be great. So someone get in there and move one of those or delete them. Perfect. Thank you. And so you go underneath, you read what happens, and then what you do is you roll the dice. And so one of the ways that we were quite creative about how do you get that the uncertainty and the fun of rolling a dice, but doing that in a Miro board. And so we came up with this here. So essentially you just delete or move one of these, and then the dice is revealed, and that then affects your score. And then you go back and count up your score, and you do that for 5 cycles, and then you have a final score. That's a really rough. I'm probably not doing justice to the game, and like I said, the best way to understand it is to play it yourself. But just to give you a really quick overview of the game. So I might pause there, and I'll keep showing my screen, but hand over to Lockie, who is really the wonderful visual designer behind all of this, and he and Sneha and I all worked on the game mechanics and how it worked. Over to you, Lockie. Anything you want to add to my super quick intro?
Yes, thanks, Kerstin. I don't know, there's a bit of time pressure. But I guess one of the key considerations we had to have was our users were both, a lot of them were from the Pacific sort of region. So internet was an issue. When am I going to cut my hair? On Friday, Mo. But yeah, so internet issues was an issue. We had a lot of scientists and people that might not have been as digitally literate. So in terms of game design, we tried to make it both as simple and accessible as possible. So simple things such as having the actor cards being a hexagon, so it's sort of quite obvious where to place them, as well as the colors of each sort of social governance and I think it's society. And then also having very clear instructions that are stepped through as well. And one key point which I thought was really important as well was this was, I guess, a different way of engaging in something that is incredibly serious. In COP26, we had people. I think one quote from the client was she was at a COP26 event where someone was saying that, you know, their island should be bombed because there's no action on climate change. So incredibly serious, and we weren't coming in with the thought to trivialize or make it fun. Fun was sort of a banned word for this. It was more about a different way of engaging and creating a really engaging and different way of thinking it, while also being a lot more hands-on, rather than the traditional format of a lot of other sort of COP26 events. And I'll leave it there.